All right, I'm gonna keep running with this one. So what I was going for with the last one is I was saying that I think that a lot, like some people might say, does the owner walk the dog, or does the dog walk the owner? That's a way deeper concept to ponder than it would seem on the surface. Sometimes I think that dogs are two different things at night and day. Maybe cats too, probably cats too. And also whether with a human being or not, is that animals can be completely different than what we would have ourselves, and that they would have ourselves believe. It's similar with children also, where I think that a lot of children are way more intelligent and perceptive, and actually can communicate stronger than they would generally let a person that a person would generally be privy to. Because I think that there's something of a human being, when a human being is young, that actually it protects itself from 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 other people. So like an adult will register on a certain level to a child, and a child will act the way that a child that feels natural to a child, but also that would feel natural to a child in front of an adult generally. And then they would seem a little bit more precocious, and even less intelligent than an adult would think, and that they would have an adult think. I first experienced that about 2 years ago, where I was driving a group of so they're pre kindergartner, they're maybe kindergartner, but I think pre kindergartners, a group of about maybe 4 or 5 of them from a particular region where I was serving. There'd be about 5 of them, and they were young, but they always wanted to go exactly to the back of the bus. And I've been more so lenient at different times, but because when you're a professional, you have a degree of authority, but you also have a degree of rapport and easiness with the students, and it requires a little bit of give and take between both of that to have the most to actually have the most pull, to have the most actually have the most say. You have to have a degree of charisma and agreeableness, and also authority. And the combination of that, you may say that no person can have the same combination as another person, because it's related to your identity and your experiences in life. But I was more so allowing them for the first couple of days to sit a little bit too far back than they really should have. And then there would be soon thereafter, I had an aide that would come on the bus, but they would appear less conscious, less verbal, less coherent to me as as a general unknown adult, and how they would behave in my presence, and when they know they're within earshot of me. When they would get to talking by themselves, when they thought that I was not aware, or that I under normal circumstances wouldn't be aware, but somehow I got privy to earshot of the real conversations and exchanges between these very small, precocious students. They were way more intelligent than I could normally appreciate, and they could perceive a lot of things. Like, yeah, that stupid bus driver up there, yeah, he's really dumb. No, I think he's dumb. He's like, not just kind of stuff like that. Like, not they just like stuff that kids would say, but that they have another dimension to them, that, like, so they think that I'm dumb because I can't hear them. And so now they're actually talking candidly, like, yeah, we don't have to act like these dumb little kids anymore. So what's up with those crayons, man? Did you know, what happened to the, just like, they're real. They dropped the pretense of that sense, but they weren't trying to be fake. They were just simply being young human beings, children in the presence of an unknown adult. And then being children in the presence of children is different than the children in the presence of adults. Most people could remember that when you're young, you have your parents and all their stuffy friends, and like you're acting a certain way when you're around their friends. But then you get into the room with the kid that you just met, and they're showing you their toys, and another side of you comes out that's different than when you're around the adults, is what I'm saying. But it might be similar with animals too, where yes, we pay the animal lets us go to work, and lets us pay for their food, and lets us pay for their leisure time, and lets us pay for their privacy while we're not bugging them like during the day. And then so they let us think one thing, but they're really more capable and more intelligent than we otherwise would think. Sometimes I think it'd be the craziest thing if you have this dog your whole life, and you think that you're talking English and it doesn't know what you're talking about, and then at a specific moment you realize that it understood you as coherent as any grown adult would that entire time. yet it held its peace and just watched you that whole time. That would be kind of cold. Like I remember there's some videos I saw of some like some attacks where it was more so popular to have like exotic pets like at previous times in the United States, like the 60s and 70s, and they would have like alligators and monkeys as pets. My mom gave me testimony of friends that she knew in the southeast that had pet alligators, and then I think, if I'm not mistaken, and then also monkeys. But then there had been some exchanges where these monkeys would become incredibly violent with their owners, and so much so that it was just too dangerous to allow the legal um, uh, um, guardianship or having pet monkeys to this day. Some of these exchanges where people were actually mauled to the point that they were no longer recognizable, or they simply died by being beaten to death by a smaller monkey, as vicious as that would sound. Yet, if you hear people walking in the neighborhood, even so, like sometimes you go to a restaurant and you hear the type of conversations that people have about their friends and loved ones and coworkers at a restaurant, almost like they're consuming and enjoying consuming the hardship and the gossip and some of the suffering and the less than winning of their very friends and loved ones as to go along with the meal. To enjoy the meal is like the breaching of privacy of loved ones, and also the backbiting of loved ones. I think in Islam, I read there's a book I had that talked about Islam, where it breaks down the teachings of the Quran, where you don't have to read the entire Quran to get some of the gist of the lessons of it. It was a very beautiful book, and in there it was saying that it is considered unrighteous to talk about anyone, positive or negative, when they're not around to defend themselves, because it's kind of like an assault, and it is very backhanded and mean spirited, even where you're giving that person a compliment and flattery. Now, if you appreciate the way that a lot of people in Western society talk about friends and loved ones, but also dogs and pets, like when they're, so you have people walking, and I said in another video, you might have someone walking like with a hat on and a fanny pack, and they're like maybe speed walking, and you think they're talking about this kind of stuff, but they're actually talking about like, oh, what if we had to put down that dog or fix that dog or this and that very brutal stuff. This concern, this when you get to the point of being concerned, where you're taking collective group action against a being or a person, is being concerned. So you can imagine if these monkeys are actually intelligent enough to completely understand what people are saying, as though, they're not verbal the same as humans, and then they get to having these conversations about like, oh yeah, but what if we have to put down the monkey or fix the monkey, and the monkey's like, what the hell did you just say? That might be some of those experiences around violence around monkeys in the past. But what I meant to say is that animals have a side that we don't see, and more so if you see, I don't know what, I haven't been a dog owner before, but I would imagine when I see dogs with their owners at night, something about dogs are more vital and more alive at night, where if you see a dog at night with an owner, it's more like the dog is a chaperone of the owner, because the dog has more of a understanding of the environment at night, and also facility to protect itself and an owner in the day, but also at night, than the actual owner. So you could say the dog actually has more agency than the owner, therefore more standing, bearing, and maturity than the actual owner that whole time at night. But all I meant to say is that I think that the animals are really regulating a lot of things in ways that we don't perceive, and they more so let us walk them, let us pay the bills, let us uh, wear the pants, and think that we're the leaders, but they're actually having way more agency and understanding that whole time, and more so caring for us and protecting us as much as we think we're protecting them. But I think that one way that you could appreciate what animals are saying, like whether it's barking or birds chirping or different animals, is that if you appreciate that, they would, one, have a different vantage point than us, different perceptions than us, but also a different sense of self and other, and you appreciate what they're saying just strictly in terms of balance. When they're speaking, when they're chirping, barking, they are balancing an environment, and speaking to the actual balances that we can't perceive. And that's a better word than energy, because energy can be confounding with our understanding of self and other, and individual, and separateness, and respective distinction, heterogeneity. But in the truest sense, energy is not, and I don't think it can be appreciated in terms of homogeneity or heterogeneity, but just in terms of balance, what it would mean to have balance. So you can almost understand the word, the birds verbatim, if you just appreciate that they're enunciating the balances of a day.